Okay, guys, thanks again for stopping by. This is gonna be, I think, my fourth tutorial on array. So what we're gonna be doing here is that we're gonna be adding the values in the array. So no, sorry, we're gonna be finding the maximum value in our array. So just go ahead and write down your class name and your main method. Go ahead and initialize your array. I've chosen this method here of initialization because yeah, you understand it as it makes it a little less complicated when we are trying to find the maximum value, because from here you can see the array indexes and you can compare them with the values. So yeah, makes everything easier. So yeah, go ahead, initialize your array, give your array reference variable, and then your length. And then your length, very important to list your length out. So then we go ahead with that. So what we're gonna do is that now we're gonna create a for loop. I mean, obviously we're gonna have to create another variable before the for loop, but I always find it, less confusing when we create the for loop first. So you go ahead and say int I, set your loop index, your array index counter, which is going to be I equals to 0. You can give it any name that you want, but I'll just give I, makes everything easier. So then we say I is less than the array one dot array1 dot length, basically. So what we've done here is that we said I, which is the index counter, is basically less than the length, which is in this case 5. Be careful not to say less than or equals to. A lot of people make that mistakes. I remember making these mistakes, and I still make them at times. But you have to be careful. So let's go ahead and put I is less than array1 dot length, so that we know we have to stop at 4. So it might seem like here is 5 and we're stopping at 4 here, but that's how it is. The length, the index is usually -1 when it comes to the length. So if it's 5, the index is stop at 4. But if you count them from here, which we know in arrays, the first value still accounts for 1. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first index accounts for 1. So without wasting too much time there, let's go ahead. So it's I plus plus. So then from there we set our curly brackets to make everything neat. Okay, so now we've set our loop. Our loop, which is gonna loop through the array. So what do we do next? So just go ahead and create a variable, because we're gonna need this variable out. We need a separate variable. So from there we're gonna be able to compare the different values or the different indexes in the array. So set integer max is equals to 0. No, sorry, is equals to array1 dot length. If we said 0, it definitely won't loop through. It would be like we're actually adding the elements in the array. That is not what we want. So the 0. So let's start with the first value. So I've gone with 0 here, because we're starting with the first value here. We shouldn't start with any other value, because as we know, the first value could be the maximum one. So we need to start with the first value all the time. So from there, what do we do from here? So now we need an if statement. So we need an if statement which is gonna say, okay, now what if the second value is greater than the first value? Then what do we do next? So we go ahead and write that. So we have our if else statement. So we're gonna say if array I is greater than max. Sorry, array1. That's my array reference variable name. So we're gonna say if array I. So array I, is not a fixed value as we see right now. It's gonna keep looping from 0, 1. It's gonna loop to 2, 3, 4. So it's gonna start at 0 first, and it's gonna say if 0 is greater than max. It's gonna say if 1 is greater than max, if 2 is greater than max, if 3 is greater than max, if 4 is greater than max. Okay, so from there we need to choose what to do. So what if it is greater? What do we do then? So basically what we do is that we assign max to that value which is greater than. Because I mean, if the value is greater than, then it obviously needs to be max. Okay, so we set max is equals to array1 I. Enough. Okay, so now we've done this. So yeah, just to go over it again to make sure you guys understand it clearer, we've got our array1.I here. So at this moment, I is what? I is 0. The index is 0 here, which is 1. So it says, is 1 greater than max? Well, 1 is not greater than max. Okay, 1 is equals to max at this moment, so it's going to replace max with 1. So max is now 1 at the moment. So it's going to say if now 2, which is 2, if it's greater than max, let it change max to 2. So max is now 2. So if, let's say now we're in 3, so if 3 is greater than max, which is obviously is here 4, so I would say max is equals to 4. Remember, when we're dealing with loops, you need to think of it in your mind as the number keeps changing. When it goes one cycle, it goes from 0, it goes another cycle, then it goes to 1, it goes another cycle, and it goes to 2. So we need to remember that here, or it can get really confusing, really fast. Okay, then it's gonna go on to now to 3, which is 5. So is 5 greater than max, which is 4 at the moment? Yes, it is greater. So it's gonna say max is equals to what? 5. So max is now 5. So let's go on over. Is what I dot 4, which is 0. Is 0 greater than max? No. So max is still 5. So let's go ahead and put our print statement. Go ahead and put our print statement. Okay. Okay, we got that. So go ahead and say max, because we need to print max now, which we know it should be 5. Okay, let's go and print that. Let me enlarge this. Okay, so yeah, this worked. It's 5. Okay, so you see, it's pretty confusing, even more difficult to explain. The only way you can help yourselves is by practicing this more, writing it and rewriting it again, changing the values, trying to make it more confusing for the program, and just go ahead and practice more, change the different variables in there and trying to see how it works. So thank you very much for stopping by. I'll be making other tutorials on arrays, so yeah, don't forget to stick around. Okay, so please leave a like and subscribe, and thank you very much for listening in.